Hello, hello. Welcome to Crime After Dark headquarters. This is Lisa. Hopefully, all of this is working. Looks like it is. Oh, yeah. Now I hear myself. Okay. Welcome in, everybody. Normally, this is not my time to go live. By the way, you will hear me. You won't see me tonight because my wonderful mod, Ashley, is on a staycation. So she can't she can't mod the chat. If I go on camera, it's way harder to kind of mod the chat show. So this is how we're doing it. Oh, it looks like my comments seem to be showing up on screen here. I'm using StreamYard tonight for the first time as far as a live. So I'm testing this. I see it on my back end. I don't see it on the other end yet. Do you guys see your comments on the screen? Let me know, just so I know. I'm just putting some of them up there. I'm not seeing them on the YouTube side of things. So I am curious. I seem to have problems with comments not showing up on screen for me. You see them? Oh, there we go. Okay. There was a lag. Yay! It's all working. It's all working. I'm so excited. So anyway, welcome in, everybody. By the way, if you were in Crime Crunchy's chat yesterday during her live, which, I never finished saying, Courtney is usually live at this time, and I'm usually live at like 9 o'clock because I do the same thing she does, and I like to work around everybody else that's live, which is so difficult because there's so many people. There's so many people. But then, and I wasn't going to go live today. And then I remembered, Courtney's not going live today. So I'm going to take her slot. Yes, she was, Kraft. Kraft says, I read NG's Facebook page for the first time today. She was hardcore against ICE, defund the police, and telling people to check out Antifa. So anyway, like I said, I took Courtney's spot, but if you were in her live yesterday, Poppy's here. Hey, Poppy. Poppy's post, I have to tell you this, because every time I see your name, this is what I think of. I clean houses. I've been cleaning houses independently for a very long time. Well, just a very long time. I have a weekly customer, and they have an African gray parrot. Her name is Pop Tart, and they call her Poppy for short. I talk to that damn bird every week when I'm there. She talks back various things. Her favorite thing to say is the word door. But anyway, she's pretty funny. And I'll think to myself, why am I talking to this bird? But anyway, I always every time I see Poppy's post, that's what I think of. Every week. Okay. So what I was going to say is yesterday Courtney was live. I'm a mod for Courtney, as a lot of you know. I was triggered by someone in the chat. Okay. I was really triggered. And I apologize. I should have just stopped commenting and just kind of, shut my mouth and just not paid any attention. but I was triggered and ended up saying, you know, I'll just leave. My thought in that process was I didn't want it to interfere with Courtney's live, so I left, but I should have just, you know, kept quiet and not done. I was still in there, Chickles, and by the way, Chickles, I saw some of your comments. I appreciate you. Um, I was just kind of watching just to make sure in case a troll came in or something. But anyway, I want to apologize for that. And I talked to Courtney after that. So anyway, I wanted to put that out there. Just so everybody who was there knows that. Craft eccentricity. I also did a dive on AG and came across an article where she stated she was studying development layouts, how to get in and out of districts easily, etc. That was 2013. Thank you, Chickles. And I really don't think that was it didn't seem directed towards me per se. It was a conversation with someone else in the chat. And that wasn't even about me defending me. I am not Wiccan. I never have been. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That is a cough drop. I should have told you guys. My throat gets pretty irritated when I talk a lot, so I put a cough drop in ahead of time. I forgot what I was saying now. Oh, I'm not Wiccan. I never have been, but I've seen it in lots of the live chats, and you know, people that don't know just assume things. And I know I've seen comments from people who are, in numerous live chats. So I was kind of defending other people when I was triggered yesterday, but that was the main reason. So anyway, tonight's well, I don't think they're necessarily trolls. I don't know. I don't know if they're regulars in her lives or not. Um they didn't seem to be trolls in the way that I define a troll, you know, when I see them in the chat rooms. I'm also a mod for a friend of mine who does lives while he's delivering food and stuff. So I've been a mod for him for years. Usually like trolls in my definition will just come into a live chat just to disrupt things. Like that's, you know, their goal is to just kind of disrupt everything from the get-go. Though yesterday I'm not sure. Not sure if that was the case, but you know, I should have just let everything slide, and which most of the time I do. Yesterday, however, I was just kind of triggered. So I do apologize. I apologize to Courtney multiple times because I should not have done that. So, as you saw on the thumbnail, tonight we're going to kind of go over again the searches that were done at Annie and Tommaso's. Because I noticed something this morning. Okay. Sometimes I know for days what I'm going to go live about or what I'm going to do a video about. In this case, I didn't. I was kind of thinking like, what should I, you know, go live about? So I was trying to think of what that would be. When I came across something, I started watching some. I always go back. I've been going back to the beginning for quite a while now. I like to go back to the first week, the second week, even the first month, because there's so much stuff with this case. Like, so much stuff. You all know there's tons of stuff, right? I mean, it's just so overwhelming. And now we have these the guys that were, well, one has been arrested, the other one is still on the run. That killed the Tucson police recruit and shot, I don't know if they're married. I think it's just his girlfriend. Anyway, they live together and she's pregnant. Luckily, she's still alive. And I've seen a lot of posts and even some lives now about these guys. And I was actually rewatching Patriot Pride from last night. I couldn't stay awake. Couldn't do it. Because I'm I'm in the Eastern time zone. So it's quite late for me, when they start at like 10 or 10:30. I usually don't make it long, unfortunately. So I hit the replay and they were talking about it, and I've seen comparisons to the one that they arrested, which I got to admit, guys, I should have pulled it up before I started this. I've got to admit, he looks a lot like Luke, in my opinion. A lot like him. And I thought, well, that's interesting. He does look a lot like Luke. As we all know, who was, had the raid on his home and the Range Rover on February 13th. Other than that, other than the fact that I think he looks like him, and, is it possible that him or the other one were involved with Nancy's disappearance? Yes. I mean, anything's possible. I don't think it's probable. Just because I don't know what the connection would be. Like, do you guys think that there would be, that would be possible? Because there's a lot of people now on that train. No, not the big guy. Yeah. Yep. Jekyll's. Hey, Crystal. Crystal's crime board is in the house, people. Give it up for Crystal. Yay, Crystal's here. Yeah, normally I'm not live at this time. It's usually at like 9 p.m. Eastern. I took Crime Crunchy's spot since she's not live tonight. We were just talking about the two guys, the one that was arrested and the other one that's still on the run. And I was saying how the one to me does look a lot like Luke. But I personally don't think that they were involved with Nancy's disappearance. It's possible. So as far as the possibility for me, I guess it would be possible if one of them were the porch guy, because the one that they arrested, like I said, he looks a lot like Luke to me. And they've been comparing and measuring and, all the people. I'm not one of those people. I'm not good with the comparing and measuring and all of that, sleuth intuition. I was watching him do that. I'm not going to lie, the whole eye thing. And he was pointing out, the shape and the corners and all of that. And I was like, that's pretty, he looks like a really good match for the porch guy. as far as how close it is, from the visual, but I don't know. I'm just because then I just start thinking, well, how would they, somebody would have to know him and, get him involved. And I can't in my brain yet do that, at least. Um, and in that case, I think I think that was targeted also because they had both worked as corrections officers at Pima County. Crystal saying, I do feel like something will be found through this rain from the washes, especially now that the FBI has new eyes on the case. Yeah, I agree. And in the beginning, I must say that I did not think Annie and Tommaso were involved. I didn't. I didn't think it way in the beginning. And actually, in the beginning, because I've said this previously, I didn't watch from the very beginning, from the time, you know, that Nancy was abducted. I wasn't watching that yet. I didn't I didn't get wind of it until later when my friend, sent me an article and she's like, "Oh my god, did you hear about this?" And I was like, "No." Um and the first thing I literally watched was the night that the raid was at Luke's house. That was and I was watching WFLA out of Florida and Brian was talking to JB. Hey JB. I love JB. And I was watching it through WFLA and he was talking to Brian Etten and, at least I think he did. But anyway, that was the first night that I really watched, that I started watching. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Look at all the SWAT cars and and I was counting. I'm like, 12, 13, 14, 15. And I'm thinking, this must be the person. Has to be like, look at all of those, law enforcement vehicles going in. It was great. And I was trying to stay awake because at the time, there's a 2-hour time difference. And I don't even remember when my mind switched from, probably I just started reading more and then I started watching, all the people on YouTube and, um, yeah, like Chickles. Chickles is saying, I do now, DC, the band, Luke, Tommy, poetry, too many coincidences. I've tried to. Who needs a puppy, Chickles? I don't need a puppy. I would take a puppy, but I don't need one. I've g I've got a dog and 2 cats. Oh my gosh. Actually, I had 2 dogs until my Pomeranian, died last year. Bristol, every single time I tried to push past the family, I get right back. See, that's exactly what Crystal just said is exactly what happens to me. Exactly, it's exactly what kept happening. Um, I kept thinking, "No, it can't be, no way." Oh, to stay awake? My cat will keep me awake at times, but actually he likes to wake me up in the morning as opposed to keeping me up late. Um, and this is the other thing Crystal says we can't ignore the stats. And I actually did a video on that. And it was based on Dr. Gary Bricato's stats and other things that he said. The stats were now I already knew, because I'm a true crime buff and I used to before Nancy Guthrie was abducted, I was watching the ID channel. Evil Lives Here and American Monster and all of these, all of the shows. So I already knew, I knew enough. I knew that typically when something happens like that, it's a spouse a lot of the times, but I'm like, okay, well, Nancy, her spouse wasn't alive anymore. Um, and then Dr. Gary talking about the stats. And then I even looked into the FBI stats, and they're like, if they're 70 or older, it's like less than 400 people a year. A year. And I went, okay. And then as far as women go, 92% know the person. And just like Crystal said, every time I tried to find something to keep me away from thinking the family had anything to do with it, something would come up, that would keep me there. Like I can't ever get away. And then when the thing happened with Derek Colella, I think that's what finally kind of put the nail in it for me. I went, okay. I'm sorry, this can't be a coincidence. Like I can't, people looked up dug into the whole band scene info and all of that. And I thought, okay, this can't be a coincidence. The only other thing that I could think of was, well, maybe somebody has it out for Annie and Tommaso, and maybe they're doing it, to kind of frame them. Maybe that's what's happening. Kraft, I think the crime will be solved when they discover how he got in and out of the neighborhood without being seen, because I don't believe a jammer was used. Cindy Lou Girl has arrived. Hey, Lisa, it's the talking points, as Chris TR says, the silence, the friends all in cone of silence. Yeah, that's also the other weird thing going on with this case, because it's not typical, right? Normally the family is out there all the time. They are, and I don't even necessarily mean physically out there. I mean in the media. And what better person to be in the media doing that than Savannah Guthrie? It's just so bizarre. Why so long for the car seized, and what did they? Yeah. That was a very long time for the car. Cops usually say there's no such thing as coincidence when it comes to these type of cases. So because I was going back, so when I was going back this morning, and you know what? I don't even remember what I was looking for at the time this morning. I was just going back through some video. Well, actually, I kind of know what spurred this on in my brain. Was that Voices for the Missing yesterday? Yeah, Colella's court moved. Yeah, because they said he's getting out of rehab and he didn't want to hang around in Tucson until September 10th. So he wanted it moved up. But Voices for the Missing yesterday, I don't know if any of you saw that. There was a piece of mail that had come to A&T's house with another name on it. And then I thought to myself, I haven't really discussed the searches that they did at their house. So I started going through some videos, and I realized something, because every time I look at a video, I look at the date, whether it's on YouTube or it's an article or news video, whatever the case may be. I look at the date so I know when it, happened. So that's what I was doing. I started doing that, earlier this morning. Courtney would be proud of me. Got the good old Chat GPT out right now for my guideline. So we know that they searched Annie and Tommaso's home. Okay. And this is it's not even showing the dates or anything like that. The other thing I do know from watching videos further back, and this wasn't even this morning, I already knew this. Juanita had talked, Juanita Adame did the one video about the brick behind the picture of Nancy, thinking it was Nancy's house. And I already knew, I knew it was Annie's because I remember Brian from way back saying like, oh, I saw a tripod go into Annie and Tommaso's house. The FBI took this tripod and this ring light and everything. So back when when they did that, I knew that they had filmed, one of those videos where they're talking to the kidnappers, supposed kidnappers. And then there was the debate over when that was done or whatever. I knew they had done that February 4th. And I did run across actually that video today. It might be in the clip of Brian Ettons I'm going to share, but so I know they did that on February 4th. Kraft says, I think the silence is threefold. Nancy was aggressively outspoken, and they don't want that revealed. Their property values would drop if they said how bad the area really is and because of family. And Chickle saying too many things point to them. See, that's the problem I kept having. I can't get away from it. Like things keep coming up where you just can't get away from it. And there's still a lot of people that don't think they had anything to do with it, which is fine. Everybody's got their own opinion here. That's what makes the world go round. So I did start thinking, because when I ran across one of the videos, the night they were at their house at night in the garage and the flashes were going off, I started to wonder, like, well, what day was that? What day were they doing that? What night were they doing that? And then that's when I, go into the rabbit hole of the YouTube videos and different people who I know have the dates and stuff. So then I see with ChatGPT here also, they never officially said that it was confirmed. So like the FBI never said, oh yeah, we went in there and we were taking some pictures with luminol. And then I thought, well, no, they never did. They have never confirmed that that's what they were doing. The FBI has never said, oh yeah, we were there and we were doing the luminol testing thing. Everybody saw the flashes and luminol, so it can be used to locate possible traces of blood or other biological material. Isn't the date the 2nd? No. No, he texted them and called on the 4th. I mean, the call, I don't know. I'm assuming that because it has to be because the affidavit said he, texted twice and then made a 9-second phone call. That was on the 4th. So, Chickles, you're probably thinking of Juanita's video where she's talking about that because one of the dates on the affidavit says the 2nd. So she goes over that in her video. And then she was talking about, well, did they film, did Savannah and, film that video that came out on the 2nd? Or was it filmed on the 4th? I think it just may be a typo. I don't know. Who knows? Like nobody. We don't know. Okay. That's what I say every time I do a live or a video. We don't know. We don't know. That's true. The FBI can't say that because Nanos is in charge. Well, so in this, I don't know if you guys are like this. Maybe it's just because I'm old. I don't know. I'm just old. So things get confused in my head just because it's been so long now. And there's so much out there and so many different things that people say, whether it's a video, an article, whether it's nanos, whoever. It's not the FBI because they don't talk, they don't say a thing. Things get so, confusing in my head when I'm trying to remember something. So then I started to think like, okay, so they were searching in Annie and Tommaso's house. They had their car impounded for 41 days. And I thought, what day was it they were doing the luminol testing or supposed luminol testing? Because like ChatGPT says, nobody ever came out and no law enforcement came out and verified that that's what they were doing, which is true. But I think, everybody was saying that's what they were doing because they did it at nighttime. They did it at nighttime. So let me share this. Now this one is from Josh at the lab, who, by the way, he has Dr. Gary Mercado on tonight at 10 o'clock. So it's their taking calls night, which I love. But this is from February 8th is when he was doing this. Okay. February 8th is the night that they were taking those pictures in the garage. And I do believe that on this night, because they did it, later at night, I'm pretty sure. Get the comment out of the way. I am pretty sure that Josh was live while he was doing this because he was sharing JLR's live because JLR was there. Uh, and that's the night that the coyotes were howling, by the way, I do believe. So he was sharing this live. This says February streamed live February 8th. All right. So this was I'm just going to play this for a few.
The house here. It's going at the bottom. Okay, what happened? That was how long has he been? He's been on for a while. Well, maybe not so long.
Sheriffs at the house of Annie
hour or so?
or authorities, some sort of agency, something like that. So
He is.
looks like some sort of search warrant going on or something.
His Enton's not live though.
The house. Yeah. This is 2 seconds, man. Go back to the
Yeah, I don't think Enton's live, but
what they have and what they get.
I'll give you and as this goes on, I'll give you my take on.
See, Josh is saying, you might not be able to hear him. I don't have the volume up super loud. He's saying, I don't think Enton is live. And that's one thing about Brian Enton is he was there, I think. But Brian Enton doesn't usually go live. He'll do a short, that's live. That's about as live as he gets is the shorts, but he doesn't do the live streaming kind of like JLR, that type of thing. So Josh was watching JLR stream this live, and this, you see the chat on the right-hand side, that's JLR's chat. That's not even Josh's chat. Chickles, why would they take pics and run luminol if they didn't think something was suspicious, just like taking the car? No, it was Brian Enton got caught inside the perimeter. But I don't know if that was at Annie and Tommaso's. That may have been at was that at Annie and Tommaso's, or was that at Carlos? It could be protocol though. I don't know about this because here's the thing. Charlotte, I do believe it was this night that he heard the howling. He heard Crystals, he heard the howling at Luke's. I'm pretty sure he heard the howling at Annie and Tommaso's. I'd have to find the post on it. He's got the short of it. He's got a clip of it. Oh, and okay, Crystal's talking about Brian Enton being in the perimeter. Okay. So that was Luke Daly's raid where he was in the perimeter. And they're like, yo, get the hell out. So that's what I thought. It was 100% at Annie and Tomato. Okay, that's what I thought. Which is this night that Josh is showing this. My God, I was going to say something and you guys comment and then I read the comment and then I forget what I was going to originally say. Oh my God. What the hell was I talking about? Oh, I was talking about Crystal's comment here. It's probably protocol. However, I think about the protocol, but here's the thing. Would it be protocol for the victim's family? Just like Chris McDonough kept saying about the car. He was on that car like white on rice. Let me tell you what. I was waiting for updates. Once he said, like, we inquired about the car. I thought, oh, they inquired about the car. I was so, like, tell me what's happening with the car. Then they kept checking on it and checking and checking and checking. Now, I've seen some detectives, ex-detectives, whatever, ex-law enforcement, everything. Some of them are of the opinion that, well, it's protocol, you would take the car. And that was just, they were just talking about the car. They weren't even talking about the damn luminol. Some of them say it's just protocol. And he said, this is the victim's family that we're talking about here. And it's something that he does not believe is protocol. He even said, this was recently, I don't know exactly when, but he said it only takes about, what did he say? 4 hours. If they were to find blood in the vehicle, he said it would take about 4 hours to get that done. You wouldn't have their car for 41 days. Chickles, I don't know. Who was the first person at Nancy's? Was it 857? I think it was 857. Because he's local. Well, of course, the local news stations were there, immediately, but if they did, I never saw any video on it. Well, I don't know, because I know somebody said, I don't think typically it would take that long to put the car back together, but someone said that their vehicle is a 2010. And I remember Maureen O'Connell talking about the car. They were just talking about cars in general and what info they can get off of them. And she said it's easier to get the things, the data and all of that off if it's a 2016 or newer, I believe is what she said. Their car is a 2010, as far as I know, unless I'm wrong about that. Because she said on a newer car, you get it from the infotainment system. It's right there, whatever. On an older vehicle, they were saying like you got to take the dashboard off completely. All these things because it's an older vehicle. So I thought, well, I don't know how long would that take? I'm not a mechanic and I don't make it a habit to take cars apart. You know what I'm saying? So as far as that goes, I don't know. I thought, well, okay, it's an older vehicle that could add a significant amount of time to like putting it back together. But you know what? We don't know. As I famously or infamously say, we don't know. we don't know shit. Not that long. Like, I know you can take seats out easily. I've seen videos on YouTube of these guys that do like extreme car detailing, which, by the way, have you ever seen those videos? Some of those videos are just disgusting. Oh, they literally got like water hooked up to like it's like a pressure washer, and they're spraying the hell out of the vehicles, and they take the seats out and all this stuff. But as far as like the dashboard and all of that, I don't know. Correct, Chickles. 2010 auto and a $300 $300,000. Well, the first house, the other house, the last house was $379,000. The one they have now is more than that. But that's actually what they have left. On the current house is about, the current house is $650,000, but they have about 300 and some thousand left. They used, they sold the other house when they got the new house and used that for the new house. So this was February 8th because Josh did this live. I wanted to know. Let me play for a few minutes here. Oh, I didn't want to fast forward
Something
it.
like that. So
He is.
looks like some sort of search warrant going on or something.
Ensign's not live
The
though.
house. Yeah. This is Detective Man. Go back to the gun.
Yeah, I don't think Ensign's live,
See
but
what they have and what they get.
I'll give you. And as this goes on, I'll give you my take on what I think's possibly going on. I mean, it's really hard to. It's really hard to tell, especially the way that this thing's moving.
Stay with me, folks.
Or he's.
But
Oh, sorry. We're just working with
Oh,
our
okay.
shadows.
Yeah, me too.
I'm thoroughly confused,
There you go.
like a lot of people. But one of the things that is really confusing is if there's a huge focus on, I believe Annie's husband, but would this not be solved? I mean, how? I mean, he lives right down the road. But maybe he's working with other people. Maybe he's not. I don't know. I would imagine that there's a search warrant for this house.
All right, so people in the chat, I am in front of Annie and Tommaso's home. Authorities are back here. Authorities have just arrived here, probably about an hour and a half hour or so.
Now, oops, I forgot to take Crystal's comment off before I played that. He had just said, I'm assuming there's a search warrant. But from what I've heard lately, there was not. I mean, Sheriff Nano said, the family's just been very cooperative. They've just been very cooperative with everything. Now, according to the interview room, hi, Tina. Welcome in. According to the interview room, they did not have a search warrant for the house, but they had one for the vehicle. Well, this is true, Crystal. Actually, I tend to believe what he said what Nano said in the early days, the first couple of days, until Savannah arrived, and then I tend not to believe a lot of what he said after that point. After the talking points from the family, that's for my belief in in what he said. So, because what Chris McDonough was saying when he was talking about whether they had one or not, he said if they did not have a search warrant for this house, for their house, for any of the times, because they didn't just do this one time, it was multiple times. He said that'll be a real big problem if it was them and things went to trial. He said that would be a disaster. Because the defense would use that and say, well, you didn't even have a search warrant. So that's a real problem if that were to happen. Kraft, did the Internet Crimes Division have the warrant? They walked out of, we don't know. Well, yeah, that's true. He really can't clear them. Like, nobody can be cleared like that. Well, he cleared them and then he uncleared them. Then he cleared them again. He did it like 3 times. He went back and forth. They're clear. But nobody's cleared. But they're cleared. I think the issue, this is just my opinion, and I'm just going to say I'm not a fan of his. Charlotte, for real. That's what I'm saying. Who's on first? I don't know, Chickles, but if you look at the Jean Bonnet case, the police did similar things. It's like the rich and famous get police to dirty the crap. See, this is what my opinion is on Nanos anyway, and when it comes to this. I think that I think that there's a lot of pressure from Savannah, from Mark Kelly. That's why the first few days, I believe what he said, like the night that he was at Nancy's talking to the press, which is the very first time he spoke about it. The next day, and even when he did the interview with Ashley Banfield that I don't know if that was a live or a video, I can't remember. About the timeline, about what time they got to Nancy's the next day. Because he said 3 or 4 times that they got there at 11 o'clock. Until Savannah arrives, and then all of a sudden, then we have this, then the time changed to 11:56. So I tend to believe what he said in the beginning, as opposed to after that point. Because in the beginning, he was just spewing off everything. Do you know what I'm saying? Just like people debate whether Tommaso took Nancy physically into the house. But at that first, when he was first speaking from Nancy's house, after they had been searching all day, the one reporter, thank God, kept asking him questions. And she said, "Did the family see her into the house?" And he said, "Yes." Now, then we can go on and debate, well, did he physically go in with her and saw her in the house? Is that what he meant? Or did he mean he just watched her from the car go into the house and saw her into the house? then there's just something else that gets debated. But he did say that day, that night, physically saw, or he saw her into the house. So that's why I kept going back to the beginning, because I wanted to see those very first few days, what he said, before people started saying like, "Hey, shut up, quit talking, you're screwing everything up," that kind of thing. I wanted to see what he kind of just, blurted out of his mouth, I guess you could call it. Poppy's post, Savannah recently stated very subtly that her family is not involved, even though she's aware they were all discussing it. She did not shout from the roof. When was that, Poppy's post? Joe has arrived. Joko has arrived. But see, okay, 2 minutes is nearly not long enough, but here's the thing. I've talked about this before multiple times. I don't think a regular garage door clicker, the one that comes with the garage door open, the garage door opener, I don't think those have a data point. Those little remote clicker things that you stick on the visor, whatever. However, if someone uses the Q app for a garage door opener, you can use that from your phone to open and close a garage door from hundreds of miles away. So, and here's my theory as somebody who doesn't know shit. Okay. Here's my theory, just a nobody, someone who likes to ramble on and lose her voice and her throat hurts from talking too much. Now, thinking logically, most garage door openers come with two clickers, two remotes, the clickers that you stick on the visor in the vehicle. Comes with two. That's the standard, two. Nancy would have had one of those. She still drove. Annie would have had the other. Annie is her daughter. She would have had the other. Tommaso would have more than likely, he would have the Q app on his phone. Yes, plus the code on the garage. Oops, I hit the wrong Crystal. Crystal said she also has a code. But is there a data point for that, Crystal? Now, for that, there might be, because it's kind of, I don't know, it's like wired in there. So that might actually have one. It's more digital than like the remote clicker things. The remote clicker things. I'm so technical, guys. Aren't you impressed? The remote clicker thing. Oh my God. AZ Sunshine, welcome in. Well, you might have been here, but you're just now. I'm seeing your comment. So, in my opinion, A&T are definitely involved. Living right there, it's obvious. Crystals, I think so, but I'm not sure. So, yeah, the apps. Now, because here's the thing. I am my mother's caretaker, okay? I've said this a bunch of times. If you're anybody that's listened to me live before, because I make comparisons all the time. She had to get a new garage door opener. The other one just quit working. Now, the original garage door, or the one that was before the one that was replaced, did not have the Q app, but anything newer. So I don't know. I'm even guessing it might depend how new the garage door opener itself is that Nancy has. But when my mom got a new one installed, the guy's like, oh, here, and you can do the Q app and download it to your phone and open it from. Now, I've never downloaded the Q app because personally, because it works off Wi-Fi in your phone and everything, that makes me nervous. It makes me nervous to have that, on my phone. I want to go back to Poppy's comment. I guess what I'm saying is if my sister and her husband were not involved, I would say, listen, folks, I'm saying it is literally, okay, they're not involved. I would too. See, everything is so screwed up because she's in the public eye. Charlotte saying the older garage door openers didn't have an app. True. Well, I don't know. We don't even know if she does have that. Like I was just saying, it depends on how old her garage door opener is. If it's fairly, like, I don't know when the Q apps actually came out. You know what I mean? At what point in time? Well, I'll say this. Chickles. Yeah, she was 84. Did she know what a Q app was? Probably not. Like my mom had no clue. But they do explain it to you. I mean, I was here when we had to have ours replaced, and the guy's like, "Hey, and you put the sticker like right on the thing that you press the door opener in the garage. You put the code right on there, like, oh, here's the code. You can download this app to your phone and blah 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 blah." I was like, "Oh, okay, well that's cool." So she probably wouldn't have unless she, if she did have a newer one installed, they would tell her what it is. If it was downloaded, they might show her how to work the app, etc. Yeah, that's true. Crystal said she had an Apple Watch. She knew how. That's true. Plus an iPhone. If she's got an Apple Watch, it's safe to say that she has an iPhone. Well, Chickles, you're saying you would forget, but I don't think it would be that complicated. It's probably like got some buttons on there, like open the door, close the door. You know what I mean? Like it's just to open and close the garage door. I don't think it would be that complicated. Charlotte, we don't use a Q app either. Afraid someone could hack the signal. Charlotte, same for me. That's why I've never downloaded it. Yeah, why is it so high? Kraft says, did you notice how high up the keypad? That is true. I noticed it when who was that? Was drone footage, I believe. One of the FBI people, agents, or someone was using it, and he was fairly tall. But see, Nancy probably never used that. She probably, because she didn't need to use the keypad. So, and typically keypads, in my opinion, and I know this because I clean houses and I use keypads at my customers' houses all the time. It's like an extra thing if you're, like for her house cleaner, or, now we're hearing from someone, the Vivint salesperson that talked to 857 Tucson, that she had a caregiver daily and the man had talked to her. Like, whether that's true, I don't know. We can't really verify that information. And I was like, what? Like, when did you talk to this person? Crazy. But you would use it for someone like that. You're not going to give them a regular, you're not going to go, here, take my garage door remote opener. You're going to say, here are the numbers to get in, use the keypad, etc. Crystal, I call bullshit on that. Either the caregiver or the security guy. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody, it just seemed really weird. Like, here's this Vivint salesperson talking to him. Like, oh, really? Well, did you tell law enforcement this way back in February? Did you mention it at all back then? Did you go to the Pima County sheriffs and say something? It's just very weird. I don't know. It's kind of like late in the game. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's weird to me too. Surely I can get out of my car, walk across yard, up 5 steps, and across my porch in 2 minutes. You're saying 2 minutes? Yeah, yeah, and it's that, surely that's a good point, because we can't go on age alone. So surely you're saying you use a cane, or do you not use a cane? Nancy could barely walk to her mailbox. Hey, Texas Laura. I think it depends. Chickles, did she use a walker that night? Like, has anybody seen a picture of her actually having a walker, or is that just something that's like gone around through the rounds of? So Shirley says I have the same problem. Nancy has no cane. My mom uses a walker. Before she used a walker, even now, I don't know. Now she's getting slower by the day, honestly. Same situation with like the cement steps in the garage from the garage door, like the house door into the garage. And I would say she did it. She could do it in 2 minutes. Well, and then people talk about shaving off X amount of minutes for, the garage door to go up and then the garage door to go down. I seriously don't. I don't know. I don't believe the data points for the garage. I mean, they're there. I should rephrase. I believe them, but I don't know that they didn't come from the Q app, which you can do from hundreds of miles away. That's what I don't know. Like nobody, I don't know, law enforcement probably knows, but we don't know. Think about seniors when they get out of the car, they have to stand there for a while. Yeah, sometimes they do have to stand there to make sure they're balanced, so they don't fall. Joe, yes, Lisa, my mother-in-law struggles with, yeah, those cement steps are pretty, they can be pretty steep. There's some pretty big gaps in between them. It's like, why in the hell did they make them so, make them with these big gaps, from one to the next? Like they should have put a third step in there, like we have 2 here. Well, actually, was it 1 or 2? Well, hell, I don't even know. I go cross the thing every day, but I don't know how many exactly. Exactly, Charlotte. If A&T went through the garage next morning, why were no data points given for that? See, Charlotte, I keep getting hung up on that also because I saw the footage the day when Annie went with Cameron to Nancy's. She had a rental car. It was a white SUV because her car was still gone at this time. They pulled in together, her and Cameron. She pulled up the driveway. As she was pulling up, the garage door opened. She pulled into the garage, and the garage door went down. So when I saw her do that, because then a little while later, I don't know, it was like an hour and a half later, the garage door opened, she pulled out, and then Cameron pulled out in Nancy's car. And the garage door went down. So when I saw her do that day, when she went in, the garage door opened before she got close to the garage. And I thought, okay, well, that's probably how she did it all the time. We're creatures of habit. Like all of us. Do you know? We're all creatures of habit. So when I saw her do that, I thought, okay, that's probably how she did that all the time. So why isn't there a data point for February 1st when they got there? Well, maybe there is a data point and they're just not telling us. We don't know. My favorite thing to say on this channel, we don't know. We don't know. Craft, I think cams and lights were taken out because he used a front door key. Back of house was all staged. So, right, exactly, Charlotte. It would prove the actual arrival. Good point. So, talking about the luminol, correct, Laura, garage door can open from anywhere in the world with the app and Wi-Fi. Just because it was operated doesn't mean Nancy was there or that anyone was there. Like the cell phone took a ride in TC's car with his. So here's the thing that I noticed. Let me share this tab. So I so I shared the one from I shared a few minutes of Josh. February 8th, he was live watching JLR because JLR was at Annie and Tommaso's. That was on February 8th. This is February 10th. This is JLR. This is on X. I ran across this today. FBI agents looking into a drainage pipe near Annie Guthrie and Tommaso's home. February 10th, 6:39 p.m. So here's my question. Someone commented with this right here. Anyhow, just happens to be right there. Bye, Crystal. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for hanging out. See, Texas Laura says, I've opened mine from across the country. I forgot to give my dog sitter access. The thing that kind of hit me when I was looking at this morning. Now, I remember, I know they searched their house, etc. I know they spoke with their neighbors. Actually, let me play this clip first. This is from ABC 7 on February 10th. So it's the same day that JLR posted this picture of the agents. Let me play this one real quick before I ask the question I'm going to ask.
We do have live video of an active search underway. This is happening near Annie Guthrie's home outside Tucson. She, of course, is Savannah Guthrie's sister. We do not have control of this camera, but we can tell you from this live feed, we have seen investigators searching the property and what appears to be officers investigating a drainage pipe. Right there, you see FBI agents on scene. Certainly increased activity, but nothing further has been confirmed about what brought investigators to this location. Of course, we will keep you posted throughout the afternoon on this specific situation. Now, if you haven't seen it yet, these are the images we're going to show you, released by FBI Director Kash Patel, showing the individual wearing a full face mask at Nancy Guthrie's.
Okay, we know about the porch guy. All right. That's all I want to share of that. Oh, did I? Okay. Oh, I completely closed out my sharing, which I did not want to do. I have one from Brian Etten. But before I play this clip from Brian Etten, here's my question. Oops, let me take down Laura's comment. Here's my question that I propose to all of you. Luminol night was the 8th. Nope. Josh's video was live. He was live showing JLR being live because JLR was actually there. Well, actually, with the question I'm going to ask, it doesn't matter whether it was the 7th or the 8th. Pretty sure from Josh's live, Josh's live was the 8th, and he was watching live. So he was watching as JLR was there. So as I was doing this morning, I thought, wait a minute. Wait a damn minute. Because as Crystal was saying earlier, and I was saying, I don't do it as much now as I did months ago. Months ago, I wanted to rule them out so bad. Like, damn it, you know what? It can't, because if I put myself in Savannah's shoes, and I thought that my sister was involved, or my brother-in-law, I cannot even imagine the pain that would cause. Like unspeakable, soul-crushing pain, right? So I've always tried to kind of, all right, let me think, what explanation is there here? You know, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be something. It's somebody maybe who's angry at them. They're trying to frame them for this, right? It has to be something like that. Something's going on. Let me rule this out in my brain so I can move on. And then I heard Chris McDonough say, I don't know, I think more than once, your job as that detective there is to rule them out, not 100%. Rule them out 1,000% to where there is no question or doubt in your mind whatsoever. But what I realized watching these clips today is, and also going over the timeline of when things happened, okay? When the FBI did searches, when law enforcement, Google says the 7th craft. Okay. I'm going by when Josh was live. It says he was live and JLR was there, so I don't know. It's the 7th or the 8th. But either date. Because let's think about this, okay? Let's think about this Crime After Dark headquarters crew. So they took Annie and Tommaso's car on the 4th. Was it the 4th? I think it was the 4th. I think it was the same day that they did that the FBI was there and they put out the video. I don't have all those dates in front of me. Then I believe the first time that they did go to their house was the 7th. Okay. Because they also searched inside the house. Besides the luminol, they searched inside their house. You know, they had the ICAC there and all that. They went to the neighbors' houses. They went through the neighborhood, you know, like they scoured the whole thing. Then we have the sheriff, you know, like Valerie's saying here. The sheriff insists the family are not suspects. I don't believe there's some kind of conspiracy to protect them. What I do wonder is why the family is so quiet. Only SG saying anything. So let's say, so they did the luminol the 7th or the 8th. They went inside their house. They had the ICAC team there. They took things out of the house. So why is it? Well, plus they had their car. Why would they then go back to their house after the luminol testing, if that's indeed what it was? They've never officially said that it was luminol testing that night in the garage. People were assuming that it was because they did it at night and luminol testing is done at night. If that was the 7th or 8th, why were they back at their house and in that neighborhood on February 10th? Now, I looked up the luminol testing. I Googled it earlier. I should have saved that also. I could ask ChatGPT real quick, but a lot of that, when they do that luminol testing, is immediate. There are things they can send to the lab. So do any of you think that the reason they went back to their house, to the neighborhood, searching in drainage pipes and everything on the 10th, after they did the luminol testing in the garage, do you think it's possible that they found something? Because let's say they did. Okay, so if it's luminol testing, that is correct. I can't say your name because it's in another language. I apologize. Remember all the camera lights flashing inside the house one night? Was that luminol testing? Well, I'm speaking specifically more of when they were in the garage. I was just playing that video. Let me share it real quick again, a couple minute or so. This right here was the night.
Your credit.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can skip to the. I'm trying to see where they were showing the flashes. Where is it? Is it here?
Winding down out here, but I don't know. Everyone's camped out here. As if
He said it's winding down, so it must be before that.
in that house. And
Oh,
I
gosh.
Sit out here as long as everyone's out here.
Josh is blasting me. It must be back here at the beginning.
He's,
but
What do you mean?
oh, sorry, we're just working with
Oh,
our
okay.
shadows. and stuff.
Yeah, me too. I got
I'm thoroughly
God, it went from
confused,
too soft to
like
too loud.
a lot of people. But one of the things that is really confusing is if there's a huge focus on I believe Annie's husband, but
some sort of search warrant going on.
and credit goes to JLR obviously.
To the house here.
I know it's
It's
in here.
going
Why
at the
can't I
bottom.
find the part where the lights are
Okay,
flashing?
what happened?
That was
How long has he been? He's been on for a while. Well, maybe not so long.
I can't see the date
At
on.
the house of Annie
An hour or so?
or authorities, some sort of agency, something like that. So
He is.
looks like some sort of search warrant going.
I can't find it. It's there. I just can't find it. Of course, when I want to find something, because they do the luminol testing at night, okay? So if they did indeed, in fact, do luminol testing on February 8th or February 7th, whichever day that was, and they did not find anything with that luminol testing, then why did they go back after that to their house, to their neighborhood, to talk to the neighbors, looking for items that may have been dropped? Because I really started to think about that today. Like, I really started to think, did they find something when they did that luminol testing? Now, I understand. I don't know. It's so hard for me to understand. Hey, Joan. Joan, I've been yakking for about an hour and a half. You do what Ashley does. Hello, chat. Did not expect this live. Had to go back in fast speed to catch up. Oh, you already did. Ashley, my mod, does that all the time during the day. She's like, oh, I'm trying to listen to the Lindsay Clancy trial and I'm behind and I got to put it on like 2 times speed so I can catch up. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Welcome in, Joan. Yeah, normally I'm not on at this time. I took Courtney's spot. Crime Crunchies isn't on today. So I'm like, oh, I can go live in her spot. Then I can watch the lab at 10 o'clock with Dr. Gary. So it'll all be good. So I'm on earlier than usual. So yeah, I really started to wonder today, like, damn, did they find something? If that was indeed luminol, because ChatGPT told me earlier that it was never confirmed that that's what they were doing. Did they find something? Because, it's such a struggle with my brain. It really is. Because, okay, I get it. Take their car. It was the last place, from what we know, where Nancy was when she was dropped off at her house. Okay. Take the car. I can even see, okay, go to their house. You know, she had gone over there for dinner and to play games, etc. I get that. But Luminol at night. Mr. Groove is here. I love saying Mr. Groove. Just something about it. I'd like to say that. Mr. Groove. Looks like Mr. Groove has a drink. That's what I need. I have a drink, but it's not alcohol. maybe alcohol would help. So I almost think that they found something when they did that Luminol, because they kept going back to their house after that. They didn't just go once. And a paper bag. See, Mr. Groove said, wow, a little vino. Oh, Lord. Can you all imagine me if I was drinking something right now? I'd be worse than I am normally. I don't know. Is that what they use paper bags for? Biological stuff? I don't know. I'm definitely not a detective or anything, or FBI. I just think it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of things that they did in regards to Annie and Tommaso's house, right? Like, it's a lot. Even, like Chris says, well, why are they taking the victim's family member's vehicle? And they've had it for 41 days. Why? I think they got Lieutenant Columbo. Let me play this Brian Etten clip here. Just the beginning, because actually the second part of this, I did a reaction video to this interview that he did with this retired detective for Pima County. And this guy here that he did this interview with is the same guy that said that there's now a new detective on the case. Because he says he knows the guy and he's a good guy. I guess he's got 10 years of experience. Thank God for that there's somebody in charge now with 10 years of experience instead of someone that didn't have any experience with homicides. Valerie says, no, biohazard is put in red plastic bags. Oh, yeah, at least in the hospital. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Hey, SuTube. No cadaver dogs, no search, no real. Well, they did have the border crossing dogs, but they're not cadaver dogs, correct? They're just they're probably more concentrated actually on drugs and stuff. Joe, at least I just sent you something. It might be something, might be nothing. 10-4, Joe. Well, they could have found blood in the garage. Now, I think I also read that, Joe, I don't think I can open it right now because I have a million tabs open. Scent tracking dogs. Okay. Oh, that's right. They were scent tracking dogs because they did have a piece of her shirt laying there that they didn't pick up when they were done. God, that was... They just left her shirt laying there on a rock, the bottom of the steps, in the front. It's ridiculous. Mr. Groove says Columbo would be investigating all of the characters at the dinner, that is. He would also be asking questions to all those who knew her, especially those that speak to her daily. I agree. Chris McDonough has said the same thing. Let me play this clip of Brian before I blab too much here again. I'm only playing the very beginning because he's got the stuff from when they went at night too.
I'm still in Arizona. I'm outside Nancy Guthrie's house right here. It's been some action here today. There's more deputies than we've seen here in the past. You can see them out here, right here. And earlier there was actually a team that came in and was looking in a septic tank behind the house, which I'm going to get into in this episode. I'm also going to go over everything that I saw late last night at Annie Guthrie's house when the deputies showed up there. And I have and this is really helpful, I have a Pima County.
Okay, hold on. Let me check this. He said late last night when they were at Annie Guthrie's. Let me look at the date. Okay, so who said that it was the 7th? Was that Kraft? So it was the 7th because this video was published to YouTube on February 8th. Detectives were back at Annie Guthrie's house Saturday night. Deputies arrived and went inside for 3 hours. Let that sink in. Deputies arrived and went inside for 3 hours, where they were taking photographs inside several rooms. So it was the 7th when they did that Luminol, because he's talking about the very same night. And this posted on the 8th.
Sheriff's detective who just recently retired. And he is going to help me break down a lot of what we're seeing. It's all coming up in this episode of Brian Enton Investigates. All right, hey guys. So again, I'm outside Nancy's house. If you're wondering what this big white thing is, this is what we use for our TV hits. And it's so hot out here today. It's so sunny that I was just going to do my my show under this too, because at least it's shady, you know. But it's been there's been a lot of activity over the last 24 hours. Obviously, there was the Savannah Guthrie new video that she made where she said she's willing to pay. And again, my heart just goes out to her and her family. The whole thing is just, I was just talking to one of my colleagues out here. I'm super close to my mom. I'm an only child. And if this was my mom, I would just be wrecked. So the strength that Savannah Guthrie is showing is pretty incredible. And so my heart goes out to her and her family. But in terms of the latest and everything that's been happening here outside Nancy Guthrie's house, there's been some action today. And depending on when you're watching this, today is Sunday. There were some deputies that showed up earlier and then were in the backyard or behind Nancy Guthrie's house and opened up what looked like a manhole cover and then had a long stick that they were pushing into the manhole cover, which it seems like it's a septic tank. A few of you all messaged me and said you thought that it was a water tank. I'm not really sure. One of my sources was telling me normally they would.
Hold up. I see someone in the chat here. I spy Major Rammer Jammer. What up? Poor Brian was roasting when he was doing these videos back in the day from Nancy's. Whew, I felt bad for him. Now, 3 hours. Mr. Groove, the dinner smells real fishy. Do you think Columbo would agree, Mr. Groove? I think so. What I've always been curious about is Hey, Fin Fan. Welcome in. I've always been curious about where was Annie and Tommaso's son that night. Was he there at the dinner? Was Cameron there at the dinner? As I always say, we don't know. We don't know. I always say it twice for some reason. I don't know why. He's about 13, Kraft, I think. I think he's 13. Correct me in chat if I'm wrong. Laura said, it bothers me why ICAC A&T's child is the only child. Why not send forensic electronic media unit? I don't think so. I don't think their kid was involved at all. However, FinFan, I've thought that myself a couple times. I just have nothing to I have nothing to gauge that, you know what I mean? I have nothing. He is 13, that's what I thought. Like the fact that Cameron might have been in the casita then, there's no way to prove whether he was or he wasn't. So it's just kind of a curious question for me, just where was, Annie and Tommaso's son when Nancy was over there? Well, here's the thing with the ICAC for me is, I think I'm not a detective or an ex-detective or anything. We all know that. But I've heard other experts say that they may have just had them there just because they have really good capabilities as far as data goes and getting things off of cell phones and laptops and all of that. They made it sound like they have better capabilities than the FBI when it comes to that, and the FBI is pretty good at, they're like the data experts. So I tend to think that's why they were there. But of course we don't know. I'm wondering, why does he usually drive Nancy around? That's not his mother. I'm just wondering how come Annie. See, people think that's strange. So they've been married. Annie and Tommaso have been married for 15 years, I think it is. 15 years. 15 or 16? Something like that. I think 15. I don't think that's strange. Call me crazy, and I am most of the time, so I'll take it. I don't think that's unusual. Yeah, see, FinFan says, I've driven my mother-in-law. Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's odd. Some people think that's so odd. Like, why would he be the one to take Nancy home? Why didn't Annie take her home? Or why didn't she go with him? If you've been a son-in-law for 15 years, you're part of the family. So if they ate dinner and they played games, maybe Annie was home doing dishes or whatever, cleaning up the place. It's not unusual to me. Like, I would not have a problem if my brother-in-law brought my mother home from somewhere. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not because he's a part of the family, because my sister's been married to him for many, many years. So, but a lot of people really have a problem. They really have a problem with that. They view that as, as unusual. Yeah, maybe Annie had a couple glasses of wine. Maybe she could, or maybe she was just busy doing cleanup and he's like, oh, hey, I'll take her. No big deal, whatever. No biggie. It's not that far away. They don't live that far. It's not like she's an hour away or anything like that. In fact, I think back in the day, my dad even took my grandmother home, from our house after a holiday or whatever, because my grandmother never drove a day in her life. My grandpa tried to teach her when she was, I don't know, I think she was in her 20s. She backed out of the driveway and hit a car, and she said, "I'm never driving again." And she never did. So she had to be driven everywhere. CB, what's up? Good to see you. Bye, Craft. Have a good one. In my opinion, ICAC was used because they are experts in extracting info from all cell phones, SIM cards, laptops. It could also relate to some kind of exploration or online harassment. Yeah, I agree that they, different experts had said that they have really good capabilities and in the data extraction, like better capabilities than the FBI even, just because they're experts in that, because it's typically involves children and that type of thing. So that's how I've always looked at that. Of course, I don't know facts. So I'm just basing it off of what, weighing it off of what different people have said. Okay, let me play the rest of this clip from Brian. I had to pause it for Major Rammer Jammer's intro.
Use that pole to, again, it sounds kind of, sounds kind of graphic, but they would use it to like probe for a body to see if there's anything down there. So they were doing that. That seemed to be their main focus today when they were out here, and they were here for about an hour and then left. And besides that, it's been relatively quiet here at Nancy Guthrie's house, besides just sort of deputies patrolling the area. And they have still been canvassing and going door to door and that kind of thing, just looking for anybody who has any information. There was also a lot of activity last night at Annie Guthrie's house. If you were following me, I was posting a lot on YouTube stories and on TikTok because I was out there late last night. Basically, we got word that there were these 3 deputies that showed up to Annie Guthrie's house. We didn't know, at first I didn't know if they were like FBI or deputies, but when they left, I was able to look and see they had like a deputy logo on their side. And they were there for 3 hours. There were three of them from what I could count. They showed up, they went inside, and they had some equipment that they brought inside. And then we could see flashes from inside. We could see light flashes, which they were taking pictures inside. It was pretty obvious. At first, they were just taking pictures near the garage area. I could see through the windows, but then I was watching and you could see they were moving throughout the house. They were taking pictures in different parts of the house. They were there for about 3 hours. They had blue gloves on, I noticed when they came out. And after being there for 3 hours, came out, got in the cars, didn't say a word, and then slowly drove off. So the timing is interesting because remember, this was happening around the same time that, or a little bit after that Savannah Guthrie had put her video out, saying that they would be willing to pay. And I can read, you've probably seen the video by now, but what she said was, I wrote down the verbatim. She said, "We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us and we will pay." A lot of people have read into this that they think Nancy is not alive based on what Savannah said there. I'm not sure. I mean, we could read into it a million different ways, but it's just tragic, regardless of what way you read into it. And that video came out, and then afterwards is when the deputies showed up at Annie Guthrie's house. What
There's
they're
the
looking for
flashes in the
there, I don't
garage.
know. I didn't see them searching outside at all. They seemed pretty focused on the inside, and were they just taking pictures inside? I'm not sure. But it was interesting timing. It was interesting that they came there.
Did you see those bags that guy had? This guy right here just he had a huge bag he was putting into the truck.
I didn't see them searching outside at all. They seemed pretty focused on the inside. And were they just taking pictures inside? I'm not sure. But
Right there. There is a brown paper bag. This actually, the white thing, I believe that's a table. Yeah, what did they have for dinner? I wonder if they even. Well, no, I don't know. This was the 7th. Like, I don't think they would have. Oh God, Chickles is starting with the cake again. Chickles has started with the cake again. The cake just bothers her. She wants to know if they sent Nancy home with some cake. Oh my gosh, Chickles. Hey, Pamela, thank you so much for subbing up. No, but I think this is like a little portable table. Look, I'm pointing my stuff at StreamYard, like you guys can see it. This right here, I think it's like a little portable table that he's putting back into the truck. You know how they set up tables that they put things on, like for evidence, etc. But I'm still having a problem because I can't get around this in my mind. Okay, so if you weren't here earlier, what started this whole conversation today about this is they did this. They were there. We assume they were doing luminol on this night. They do it at nighttime. And then they went to their house after that. On the 10th, they talked to neighbors. Now, here's the thing. Number one, like I said before, Chris McDonough has had a problem with this for quite a while. Just for the fact they took their car for so long. They are family members of the victim, of Nancy Guthrie. I've seen the video clips of them in Annie and Tommaso's neighborhood. They talked to neighbors. They asked if anyone had video footage, stuff from their cameras, etc. I saw them go into someone's RV. Someone had like their RV camper parked, at their house. One of the FBI agents opened the door and they were looking in. Now, call me crazy again if you haven't already. Doesn't that seem really excessive? To the point of where they're looking in people's campers and RVs, in the drainage pipes. Dude's literally in the drainage pipe. I think, thank you, Chickles. I appreciate you because my mod Ashley is not here today since she's on her staycation. Thank you, Shirley, for subbing up. Shirley, don't call me Shirley. That's actually my mommy's name. Once in a while, she'll say something to me and I'll go, "Why, Shirley, you can't be serious." She just gives me the evil eye. Finn, I didn't call you Shirley. So I don't now I can get it. Okay, so they go to their house and they search and they, let's say they even did luminol testing and they took the photos in their house, etc. Why did they keep going back again and again, talking to their neighbors? Why go back after they did luminol testing if that's indeed what they did? And they still what? Did they find something with the luminol testing? Or were they just like, well, what the hell? We've already done everything else. Let's go back again and do some more. What? Joko, there was a hit and run the night Nancy went missing. The second car that hit the guy killed him. That car left the scene. They believe it was a blue Honda. They said maybe an Avalon, but not confirmed. What's an Avalon? Never even heard of an Avalon. Ben Van, I'm starting to agree with you. I don't trust anyone in that county. I just, like I said, when I was going over this stuff earlier and I went, wait a minute, they did the luminol testing on the which what I thought it was the 8th, but it's the 7th, and still went back on the 10th. After they had been in their house on this day, like Brian Etten said, for 3 hours. Three hours. It just seems like a lot to me. Let's see what else is on here. There's a little, well, maybe not much more. There's a little bit more before I'll stop it.
It was interesting timing. It was interesting that they came there late at night. And sorry, I'm just checking for one other thing I wanted to tell you guys about. Yeah, they were in and they were out and they left without saying a word. So I have something interesting. I interviewed a man named Kurt Dabb. He's a former Pima
Kurt
County
Dabb, that's
Sheriff's
his
detective.
name.
So Pima County, of course, is where we are. He was a homicide detective there for years. He has some really interesting insight into what he thinks is going on, what was going on at Annie's, and then also just big picture what's going on with the Pima County Sheriff's Office, because a lot of people have questioned whether they're really prepared for an investigation like this when the deputies showed up at Annie Guthrie's house.
Look, it does that all the time. Rewound on me. I guess he is done.
He worked for Pima County.
So this guy right here, he's fairly newly retired, I believe. And I already went over this in a different, I think it was a video. This is the ex-detective, or retired detective, I should say. He's the one that said they have a new lead detective on Nancy Guthrie's case. He is the guy in charge. Not this guy, but the one he was talking about. This guy here. He said, I know the guy. He's a great detective. He's old school. He plays it by the book. And he has 10 years of experience as a homicide detective. And let me tell you what, when I heard him say that, I was jumping for joy. That the lead detective in charge of this now has 10 years of experience as opposed to no years of experience. No offense. Well, actually, you know what? A little offense to the original guy who, by the way, got a promotion recently. For why? We don't know. The same detective who, in another case, let go of the crime scene too soon, screwed it up so bad that the guy walked free. From what I heard. So that was definitely a problem. Let me go back to my trusty chat GPT. So this says the garage. So why the garage? Okay, if they did luminol, took pictures, could potentially contain vehicle evidence, biological evidence, trace evidence, clothing or personal items, objects connected to Nancy, evidence related to the timeline. The specific reason they focused on the garage has not been publicly established. Well, why would it be? Nothing else is publicly established either. Right? Nothing. So, materials taken from the property. There was reporting about a silver case briefcase. That's something they took from the property? A silver case or a briefcase? That's funny, isn't it? Timeline. The timeline doesn't make sense anyway. Gosh. The contents and purpose of that case have not been publicly established. That's funny, Chat GPT. I wonder if my Alexa will join in tonight. Alexa's quiet. It was unbelievable that my other live where Alexa started joining in on the conversation. So the possible reasons why they'd be at Annie's home searching, following a lead, collecting additional evidence, re-examining Nancy's last known movements, checking, there it is again, the timelines, checking or verifying timelines, looking for forensic evidence, digital evidence, eliminating possibilities, following up on information investigators received. The timing raises questions about what investigators had learned during the first week. Possible explanations could be new information, new evidence, a new lead, forensic follow-up, or additional investigative work. I feel like I've already said that before. ChatGPT. So Nancy's home versus Annie's home. Nancy's is the primary location, of course, connected to her disappearance, blood evidence on the front porch, personal belongings were there and relevant. Extensive investigative activity occurred there. Annie and Tommaso's home, she had been there shortly before. We all know that. Investigators later conducted a lengthy search. The garage was examined. Interior areas were photographed. Materials. Why were they? See, that brings up issues in my thinking also. Why so much in the garage? Hey, Jenny. Good to see you. Good to have you here. Why so much in the garage? Do they think something? Is there a reason? Did they see something? Is there some reason why they did so much heavy searching and photos and possible luminol in their garage? And who asked that earlier? Was that Chickles? About did they do all of that at Nancy's? Okay, so it was Chickles that asked that earlier. And I said, I don't know. Did they? Nobody knows. Nobody was local news reporters were there early on. They would be the only ones if they did it in the first night. Yeah, if they did it, the first night. I think 857 Tucson was there on February 2nd. Did they do all of that at Nancy's? You would think that they would, since it's her house and she was supposedly asleep when someone snatched her up from her bed. Yeah, we don't, Fin, we don't know. That's the thing. I've never even heard anybody talk about it. I think Chickles is the first one that's ever brought it up. Like, has anybody else heard anybody talking about, like, if they did luminol searches and things at Nancy's? I mean, the front on the blood, the front porch, it's obvious. I mean, I'm assuming they did it in the house. That's like, seems like that's investigative 101. But what about her garage? There were so many law enforcement vehicles. Ooh, somebody said there was like 100 in the beginning that just drove right up there. So if there was anything, if there were any kind of tracks in her driveway, I think they would have run them right over with their vehicles. Here's what we don't know. The thing that I say all the time on my channel. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know why they searched the home. We don't know what prompted it. We don't know what they were looking for. Were they looking for specific things? Luminol being used was never officially confirmed. We don't know what they took photographs of. We don't know what they collected, what they found, why the garage was so important. See, here, I think they really focused a lot on the garage. Did Annie and Tommaso tell law enforcement, well, she got in the car, we had it pulled in the garage, and she got in the car while it was in the garage? Do you think that's why they were focusing on their garage so much? FinFan says, I'm not accusing anyone. We are not casting aspersions here. We are having conversations. I just think it's very odd to me that they, first of all, that they focus so heavily in their garage. And after they did that, spent 3 hours there, taking all the photos, possibly using luminol because experts have said they do the luminol stuff at night. And then they go back to their house multiple times after that. Outside, talking to neighbors, searching neighbors' motorhomes and looking for things dropped on the ground. It just seems like a lot. It seems like it's really excessive. So, and I don't remember who said that either. So many comments go by. Now, actually, when they were there at night, I believe that was all Pima County deputies, correct? When they went back after and were talking to neighbors, etc., that was FBI. Valerie says, we need one more clue. Oh my gosh, we need a lot. I don't know, Valerie. We need something. By the way, and I do believe the same day that they took their car is the same day Delera. I called him Delera. I combined Derek and Kalella. This is the same day he sent the text messages and the 9-second phone call. By the way, he goes to court now on August 31st. I believe I mentioned that in the beginning, maybe not. I don't remember. Because he wanted to move it up from September 10th because he gets out of rehab and he doesn't want to hang around in Tucson until September 10th. They've agreed to move his court date to August 31st. I believe it's 2 p.m. Be there or be square, people. My gosh. Well, I mean, I think they left when the FBI and, law enforcement started going inside their casa, their home. And we know from what Savannah said that they were hiding out in an Airbnb, wherever they were, and walking through the desert at night, trying to get away from people. And I'd like to know what people were following them. Because all the streamers and everybody, they were parked at Nancy's. Some of them had been at Annie and Tommaso's, like when they did these searches. But the way she made it sound during that interview with Hoda is that there was hundreds of people following them. When she said, yeah, we had to go through the desert at night. Me and Annie and Cameron. She didn't even mention Tommaso. But it's possible Tommaso was with his son. It's just all very strange. Very strange. Nothing about this case is typical. Do you know? At least in my opinion, nothing is typical. So here's what ChatGPT is saying. It isn't why did the police search at their house. It's what information caused the investigators to conduct additional searches as the investigation progressed. And that's what I've been asking for the past 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's the whole thing is crazy. The family acts strange. Yeah, he is the only one who's kept out of, you know, in my opinion, he's kind of gotten a pass on things. Well, he's ex-military and he's a fighter pilot, and okay, so he's good, and nobody's going to talk about him. You know what I mean? There's been a little bit of talk about questioning whether he was in fact, staying in Nancy's casita at the time. Was he there at the time? Was he not there? Was he not in town then? Well, like what, now Nancy's birthday was a couple days before that. So like we don't know if he was previously there earlier in the week. And maybe that's why he wasn't there. If he was not there, I don't know. Well, he lives in Vermont. We know that. He lives in Vermont. Chickles, who knows? Chickles says, Vermont, who knows? Maybe they'll move to Europe. He does live in Vermont. But there's so many moving parts to this investigation, and now everybody's focusing on the two guys, one that had been already arrested, the other one they're still looking for in relation to the shootings that happened the other day in Tucson, trying to make it all fit together. Maybe it's connected. Maybe they're connected, Oh, my cat's going to start acting up, of course, banging his bowl around because he wants a snack. All I know is somebody took Nancy out this door. Down this driveway or towards where her bedroom is. And this view right here, it bothers me. It's always okay, if you hear a banging noise, it's my cat. He's banging his bowl all over, trying to get my attention. Chickles, the zoo they've already been fed. He just wants a little snacky snack. So if he doesn't have his little snacky snack in his bowl, he starts banging it around, making noise. Because he knows it drives me insane. So even though I don't have a puppy, I have to deal with my cat. He acts like an asshole. Okay. The view that's showing right here behind Brian it's hard for me to look at, and it's always been hard for me to look at. Back in the beginning when everybody was there and they would, JLR is over here in the background. He's got his tripod sitting right there. Anytime that viewpoint from this side, from this driveway and, this part of her driveway, as opposed to the side by the mailbox, it always bothers me. I start feeling sick to my stomach, and I have a real hard time with it. Because I personally believe she did come out that front door. Even though I do think about, was it staged? Was the blood staged and all that? I've thought about that, multiple times, but I always go back to the fact that I think she was there, and I think she did come out that front door. It's Nature Walks. Nature Walks is here. You're catching me just at the end of things. Thanks, Shirley. I appreciate it. We just throw around different ideas, and, when particular things come to me at certain times, I like to discuss. Joe, you think she came out that door too? Yeah, I do. I really do. The drone footage, though, that came out from Fox Digital, where they were over by where her bedroom is, the patio area. It's in my drone footage live that I did. And I was sick when I did that live, so I sound horrendous. But her bedroom is on the opposite side of the garage, and that drone footage is showing them looking down on the patio, right where the sliding doors are at, right where there's a sliding door to her bedroom. And I've always wondered why they were looking there. Why are they looking there? There's a pony wall there. And then later, Chris McDonough from the interview room was talking about, he was showing blood spots and how they didn't just come down the front steps there. They come down and they went to the left here. And there's actually footage of the FBI or the district attorneys, whoever they were, looking in this area by this big agave, whatever that plant is. And I thought, well, why would they go in that direction and not over here? So that's still something I think about, because I don't know how that would happen. I don't know if they did go towards her bedroom. I think the only reason why they would go that direction would be to go towards the back. If they would have parked back, in the area where the FBI has been out there recently again, searching in the back, near where that like alleyway kind of road is. I do agree, Valerie, there's not that much blood. I mean, considering that she was on blood thinners, like there's really not that much blood. And it's not just the fact that there's not that much, it's also the fact of it's not really it's not stepped in. There's, if you're bringing someone out, you would, with multiple feet hitting that area, you would think that there would be more stepped in spots. You know what, Nature Walks? When I was going over the drone footage, I noticed that, and I didn't even know that was the treehouse. I was thinking the treehouse was like past the pool area, going in the direction of where JLR is here in the background. I didn't know it was like directly back there, like behind the casita area. So when I was going over that drone footage on my live, I was like, what is this? Is this a shed? Like I could see it in the the brush and stuff back there, but I couldn't see it very well, and there was no way for me to zoom in. And I was like, what is this? Is this a shed? Is this like a wooden shed? What the hell is this thing? And I don't even know, is that Nancy's property or is that the neighbor's? Because it's behind her wall at the back of the property. But I do know that a lot of times, even if you have a fence or whatever, your property still extends a little bit from the fence. But I was like, I wish I could look closer. I've thought about that too, Jenny. Like maybe they put something in her drink. There's just so many things, and I know law enforcement knows way more than we know. You know, because we haven't been given much at all. And I did a video on that quite a while ago where, well, not that long ago, my channel isn't that old. My channel's newer. That, oh, why is my network unstable? Getting a notification from StreamYard. But 80 to 90% of the information of what we know about this case has come from the family. It's come from the family. We have the garage door data points. We have a 911 call that they're not releasing. Well, now we have, thanks to Juanita, we have some scanner communications. Yeah, we've got talking points from the family. Those are from the family. All of the timeline came from the family, basically, which that adds to my suspicious mind at this point, because so much of it does come from the family. The back door is propped open. She left her back door unlocked all the time. It you know, whether it was directly from Savannah. I mean, even Savannah, the stuff that she was saying in the interview with Hoda, you know, some of that she got from her own family. Like the back doors being propped open. Because she wasn't there that on the 1st in the morning to see the back doors propped open. They could have done, yeah, that a lot could have been done before 911 was called. A lot could have been done with that vehicle before they took it, since they didn't take it until the 4th. Chickles said it all. We don't know anything. We don't know. We don't know. And it's those gaps that we have. We have so many gaps. There's gaps in the timeline. And because they're not releasing anything that's verified, documented, you know, etc., our brains are all trying to fill it all in, and that makes the suspicion towards the family worse. And the fact that some family members aren't coming out defending themselves, they're just hiding their faces. You know, it's like a big snowball or a ball of yarn. It starts out little and it just keeps growing bigger and bigger and bigger. Because nobody's saying anything to unravel it, to make it smaller. And it's crazy. It's just, I said this before when I was watching the Seth Rogers interview on the Interview Room, and wasn't even familiar with that case. Sebastian Rogers, his son, that's been missing for 2.5 years. It was the first time I'd ever watched this man speak. I didn't know anything about that case. It wasn't a case that I was familiar with. I mean, I had heard about it, but I never really read into it or anything. And I saw him and the pain and just, I need to find my son, and I will tell everybody and anybody that will listen to me, and I need help, and I need you to help me, and I need people to listen to me. And this man has been doing this for 2.5 years, nonstop. And I thought, that's what a family member acts like when their loved one is missing. Right there. And the difference between him and Nancy Guthrie's family is like night and day. Unbelievable. It was and it really hit me when I watched Chris talking to him. And I was like, wow. Or even Gabby Petito's family. Now that one I did follow, and I was just as obsessed with that one as I am with Nancy Guthrie's. I remember her dad. I remember her family. Where's Gabby? Where is she? We can't find her. I remember how they acted. I remember her dad saying that they were all contacting Brian Laundrie's parents, asking like, where's Gabby? Do you know where Gabby is? Have you heard from her or anything? And they would not even answer them. Completely ignored their texts, their phone calls, everything. To the point of where her dad's like, I just went to their house and started knocking on the damn door. That's what a family member does when they're looking for their loved one. I think that Ransom Communications said that she was gone for a couple different reasons, but I'm not going to get into it because it's 9:00 for me. My cat is throwing a hissy fit because he wants his snack. And I got to do a few things before the lab comes on with Dr. Gary Bricado in an hour for the call-in show. Exactly. Poppy's post. They haven't come out in solidarity talking about their innocence. Only one person has been talking, and that's Savannah. Now, I'll tell you one thing. If people were accusing me of something, you'd be seeing me on the news. My personal opinion, I don't think that Savannah's intentionally covering up. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know her. I just think she's in a lot of denial. Because if it were me, I would not want to believe that my sister or brother-in-law or both had anything to do with my mother's kidnapping or abduction or murder. Or all of the above. My personal opinion is that it was an elimination And the kidnapping notes or communications were just a little added extra to try and get some Bitcoin out of it for some quick money, because people know that it's not easy to get that inheritance. That's not a quick process. So in order to get some fast money, you're going to stage some kidnapping, it was a kidnapping. We're going to throw in this Bitcoin and try and get some money out of it immediately to hold us over, to tide us over until when we can get some inheritance. Because the other thing that I look at in this case is I keep asking myself, who has the most to gain? If you're thinking about it with a motive, who has who has the most to benefit? Who's going to benefit from this? Chickle says, puppy potty time. Thanks for a great show, Lisa. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming and hanging out, Chickles. You are awesome. Like I said, when I think about who has the most to gain, there's only 2 people that come to mind for me. That's just what it is for me. Those are the only 2 people I can think of, honestly. I think it was targeted and on purpose, and I don't think they're the sharpest tool in the shed, although, man, got to give it to that porch guy, because from what we know, they don't have that one yet. And it's frustrating and it's very sad. I want justice for this woman, this poor 84-year-old woman. Laura, mine does that also. Opens and slams the cabinet door back and forth where the food is kept. Yep. Mine does that also. Makes a bunch of noise. He really likes to do it at 4 a.m. It's fun stuff. Fun stuff. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get up on out of here so I can prep for the lab at 10 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and discussing and going over theories and thoughts and discussions. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody who's subscribed, everybody who isn't subscribed. I appreciate Joan for sending me a coffee the other day. And I had to buy a new coffee maker today, by the way, because I go through them pretty fast. My coffee makers don't last. That's how much coffee I drink. Oh my gosh, so much coffee. So much. So again, thank you guys for hanging out, and we will see you the next time on Crime After Dark headquarters. Take care, guys, and I know I'll see you in the live chats everywhere. Bye.